Yes. So, first anime we're going to be talking about today is Nier Automata version 1.1a2. This one is episode 22, I believe. And this is the part with we are very much nearing the end of the Nier Automata anime. I can tell you right now, we are definitely getting to the end. I mean, it already feels like the end. Like if you looked at like keynotes and whatnot, you can already tell that this is getting towards the end. But like we are in the like final stretches because this episode was heavily focused on the two androids that we haven't really seen that much of, which is Popola and Devola. So when it came to the video games, I was sort of kind of unclear about how everything played out in that world, or at least in their world, because I know that Nier Automata is not the first game in the Nier series. There's a bunch of different games in like the actual Nier universe, and from what I have been told, the Nier Automata stuff is actually like, from what I was told, was supposed to, it's coming off from actually a joke ending that they made a bit more serious. But what we get is 9S, after getting all of his passcodes, finally going to the tower, trying to get in. I don't think he's rejected. No. So 9S goes in. He gets like a shock from the tower, but he goes through this whole sequence, right? He goes through this whole sequence of like another form of 9S, of some type of memory, going through and kind of revealing the truth to him, and kind of telling him, oh yeah, what's this? What like showing him all the times that he has died, right? Which now, I'm not gonna lie, I do actually kind of remember the scene. So there was like a previous episode ago where I said that like we don't get the visual of 2B and 9S actually fighting. I might have been completely wrong about that. I might have actually just like not remembered what that was or like when that happened. So oopsie daisy when it comes to me on that front, because I thought that there was a point where it actually happened, but apparently it didn't. Apparently it did, maybe potentially. But the 9S that is showing like our 9S that is the 9S that is in the system that is showing the other 9S the like his truth, or just the truth of the matter, is exposing that 2B was actually 2E, and that, you know, she was always destined to constantly kill 9S, because 9S always found out too much throughout every version of himself. He questions like, oh, doesn't that mean I'm defective? Like, that doesn't mean it. It's like, no, it's like kind of part of the plan. It was always kind of part of the plan for you to constantly die and adapt, and this is the point. I think the insinuation was like it was always supposed to happen, and you were always at some point supposed to survive past 2B living. So obviously it's one of those 5-head things where it's just like, no, this is the direction you're supposed to go down. This is the path that you are supposed to actually be on. You're on the right path. This is kind of the truth. I can't, and like that 9S shoots him back out, being like, yeah, I can't take you any further, but like the more answers will be revealed as you leave. So then 9S dies, and honestly I kind of skipped ahead because I do this a lot, but the beginning of the episode is actually us reading a story about Popola and Devola, how like they were the like, not the first androids, but they existed, I'm pretty sure, before the Yoha experiment existed, where humanity was doing some shit where they were like something about them and like anger, and them getting angry and then doing some shit. So they were supposed to do some shit in terms of like taking out their soul and like putting it in the vessel until like, you know, humans could finally go back again. And Popola and Devola were created to kind of be like the overseers of this entire project, which was called Project Gestalt. And Project Gestalt ended up being a blunder. Obviously, the vessels went out of fucking control, and that led to the extinction of humanity. And Popola and Devola kind of had to live with that trauma and that regret and that remorse and that sin, that they were the ones who let humanity fault. And they kind of existed where it's like, oh yeah, like, not all the androids know, but there's definitely disdain for the androids. In some way, people definitely know, like, where you go, you will be shunned, because it is your fault that humanity has fallen. Which, I am assuming this plays more into the other Nier games. Like, that story plays way more into the actual aspect of what the Nier games are. But we get, like, what the show does is, I think, a bit better than what the video game does. Because the video game gives us a log, and to be fair, that was like the style of the video game. That's why I sit there and I'm just like, okay, I'm not too against about what the video game did, because it's just like, oh, it's telling it in a certain way, it's telling it in logs, and like going back is probably a lot. This anime definitely caters more to the people who either have only played Nier or Nier Automata, or people who have not played the game and don't really know about the Nier series in general. Whereas I think the video game heavily leans more into the people who did play the Nier series and at least knows a bit of the Nier lore, because I had a friend who was super into the Nier games. I'm talking about, he played the Nier games before Nier Automata and Nier Replicant were like the big games that really blew out. And he was explaining to me, because I was kind of lost. I was just like, wait, what the fuck? Is there the reason? And he had to explain to me kind of like, oh yeah, it's a bit more explained in the other games previously, you know, Popola and Devola and all that stuff. So that's what we got, you know. The anime does a better explanation of that and showing and visualizing a bit more of what exactly happened. And seeing like kind of the torment where they had to go through, where they became like traveling, they became is that the right gypsy, is that the right word? They became gypsies in a way, sort of, kind of, like, in a sense, where they kind of sat there and they were just like, oh yeah, like we're heading to the resistance camp because we're here to help as we can to atone for our sins. And so, cutting back to 9S, as he's trying to get into the tower, there's an army of robots that come. And honestly, it's not one for one, but it's very close to how the video game does it, where Popola and Devola, they appear behind 9S, and it's framed like they're about to attack him, but they actually brush by him and they start fighting off the robots, where they're like, all right, like, we'll be here, we'll defend, you got to go into the tower. Like, well, we're here to atone for our sins and trying to do as much as we can. They heal up 9S, they find him. They give him, like, they can't heal him up completely, obviously, but they at least physically heal him to the point where it's like, okay, you should be fine now. And obviously, a bigger wave of enemies come, and they start making their way towards the three of them. And as they try to retreat to the tower, Popola and Devola can't go in because they don't have the passcodes. They can't get into there. And so 9S is like, oh, I could go in later, I could fight. And then they're like, no, like, you have to go in now. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, we will be fine. You have to let us atone for our sins and let us, like, you know, do what we need, like, what we need to do for humanity's sake. And so, what we get is basically Popola and Devola's sacrifice for them trying to defend humanity as best as they can, and they themselves now end up just getting fucking torn to shreds. I'm glad we got that visual, because I think in the video game we don't. I think in the video game we don't get that, but I do think it's better represented here, because Popola and, like, they basically like mix in the explanation with them fighting, and so we get a cutscene of them like apologizing to each other and them being like, look at us, always apologizing. And I think that like explanation they get is actually in the vlog, but it's just like okay, look, this is gonna be very Brave Ron Andy right here, but it was just a lot to read at the time, and I like the reading. It definitely, I was still shocked, but I think the visual definitely helped of seeing like the visual log rather than just reading the log entry itself. So seeing them doing like the apologizing and having the emotion behind it definitely helped enhance that in part for me. Again, it's so fucking like whatever. It's so like Brain Rot Andy of being like, ooh, I can't read, but like I think it just visually works better. I think it's a better visual overall for me. I think personally. But yeah, this is basically Popola and Devola's sacrifice for that video game. I mean, for that scene where we get 9S walking into the tower, and we're getting. So this is episode 22. I assume, yeah. What I think because the first part was 12 episodes, so this has to be 12 episodes. So we are definitely like headed towards that ending. We're definitely headed towards like more of an end. We're 2 episodes away, which makes sense. Where we'll probably get the next episode will probably be 9S going ahead and talking about. I actually wouldn't say it. I'm actually not going to say it for people who potentially want to watch, but just know that I definitely know that we are heading towards the end, and the ending is. I think I'm very interested to see where the ending goes, because I will say this, spoiler alert, very big spoiler alert. Well, sort of, kind of, not really. Nier Automata has multiple endings, and the part for this ending has multiple endings. So it's going to be very, very interesting. Oh my goodness, oh my lord. It's going to be very interesting seeing how that all plays out with Nier Automata, because that is going to be, that is going to be a very, very fun watch. I wonder what they will. I know there is a canon ending, I forget which one it is, but I'm very interested to see what they will do and what they will choose. I think that's going to be a fun little watch. But yo, how you doing? I am doing good, unclonable. I hope you're enjoying the stream, my man, and I hope that you are enjoying the conversation in hand as well. But yeah, honestly, this episode definitely wasn't as strong as it was. So like, here's my big thing with this episode for Nier Automata, right? It was definitely a Popola and Devola episode. This is one of those things where I think it's way more impactful in the video game than it is in the anime. And a big part of that for me is because you do a lot of side quests for Popola and Devola. There's a bit more of a dialogue, there's a bit more of a conversation. You get to know them a bit more as people, and you even see a bit more of their plight with like the resistant camp, and not everyone hating them, but there's like a good chunk of the resistant camp that also doesn't very much like them, but have them around because obviously they're like a necessity. But unfortunately, we don't get much of Popola and Devola in this show. So the problem with that is that you lose a lot of that connectivity from side quests and other little things, like as you do the extra stuff, than you would in this anime that's just focusing a lot on the main stuff. And that for me is why like this didn't hit as hard. That's why I'm saying like it hit. I will say while I enjoyed, I think I'm going to backtrack a little bit here too. While I did enjoy the visual of explaining what Popola and Devola went through before like the Yorha project and Project Gestalt and all of that stuff, reading the logs has a lot of what the side quest has and stuff like that, because you get a lot of that resentment, you see a lot of that resentment, you interact with a lot of that resentment from other resistant camp people and other people that know about Popola and Devola. And so you get this thing, right, where like you get more curious about like what they're doing as people and being like, oh yeah, what are they doing like this? What are they doing right here? What are they doing with that? What are they doing with this? What are they doing here? What are they doing there? What are they doing everywhere? And so like you get a lot more of that interaction, you get a lot more of that pacing, and because of that reason, wow. Right? Sorry. Oh, Jesus Christ. My fucking voice cracked. Sorry, I blanked out for like a split second. But because of that reason, when you read the log, it's way more impactful and it's way more strong. Versus in an anime, it's still strong because of visually, but there's not that emotional weight to it. I think it was nice to see in the anime, but I do wish we got more Popola and Devola in the anime, because I thought that was definitely the more enjoyable part of everything. But yeah, no. That's just me though. But yeah, overall, I mean, it's definitely not like the strongest episode. It's the episode that gives the nice information. But like, I'd rather give it like a 7 out of 10. It's like okay. it's like okay. Well, not okay. It is a good show. Okay is not the right word. It is a good show. It is a good episode. It was just that episode was just not as strong as the other ones, but I get it. It was one to just, give the information to Popola and Devola, give us that, because we're getting to the end. Everyone is obviously dying very slowly, so yeah. But yeah, Nier Automata episode 22, I would give it definitely a 7 out of 10, or 7.5 out of 10, because I did really like how the visuals for that went.